appropriately liquid markets, market demand, type of distributed ledger. They all use different ledgers, so the process of settlement for a transaction is dramatically different depending on the ledger they're using. Importantly, we want to allow innovation, efficiency, functional applications, etc. So there will be circumstances that we will consider when someone comes to us and says we want to use a coin. It may be particularly useful for the workings of the market, may provide efficiency. The concept of stable coins and others may drift into this space in due time. In terms of traceability monitoring, my point at the bottom is the concept of privacy coins. So your Dash, Monero, etc. They have great difficulty to be traced. They have great difficulty to ensure where it's held. They will not meet our requirements. So all the exchanges know if they come into our jurisdiction that it may be their USP one day to build that ability to monitor that, but until they do so, no market in our jurisdiction can use such tokens. We talk about 5 buckets, 5 key areas of risks that we wanted to assess, and I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail. Up until now, a number of jurisdictions have had fantastic requirements around AML, CFTC, tax reporting, consumer protection, technology governance. The 2 extra ones, though, custody and exchange type activities, we really focused on that. We wanted to make sure there were regulations around how you custodise these assets, and if you're an exchange, you'll be regulated as an exchange in our jurisdiction. These 5 buckets were interesting. It meant that many parties really loved it and many did not like it at all. And we're fine with that. If you want to come into our jurisdiction and be regulated where you manage the risks in these 5 areas, we're happy to talk to you. If you don't want to, that's fine for you. You just can't come and talk to us. If you go down the path of putting forward your own regime, what you will find is many of the exchanges, for example, will say to you, we want to operate as is. We don't want to change what we're doing. You need to build out your regime to make sure that if you're going to have discussions with them, they're going to have to change what they do to make sure they meet your requirements. Our AML rulebook applies in full with some tweaks. So things like no third-party payments, no simplified due diligence, you must do enhanced rules, for example, in certain areas is key. That's most important. You can imagine that many of the markets now are regulated at this level, but that's something new as well. As I mentioned, they must report or consider their obligations under FATCA, under common reporting standards. All consumer protection requirements apply, and we look at this in 3 contexts. One is the business itself, one is crypto assets in general, and one is, linking back to my points about what type of accepted crypto assets are using, the risks relevant to those assets. So issues around traceability, settlements, etc. Technology governance. We've spent a great deal of time in this area. Almost a significant proportion is around not the technology, the governance of the technology. If you look at the failures of many of the crypto asset exchanges, it's hacking. We've run some of the exchanges in the last 12 months on the day they got hacked. They did not know if it was a technology failure. They did not know if it was a governance failure. When we regulate our exchanges now, if we rang them on that day, they would typically know not exactly how the problem occurred, but they wouldn't say to us, we don't know if it's technology, we don't know if it's an internal job. So these are the type of things we've got to educate our crypto asset exchanges to bring them up to speed on how to be regulated. So we've looked at security and risk management, private keys, wallets. An important one is the origin and the destination of funds. So when the money comes into the system and money comes out as well, and where it goes. So things like exchanges, if they have one wallet for a client, when they bring the crypto assets in, they can only deposit back into the same wallet when it comes out of the system, for example, so we know where the funds are going. Custody, as I mentioned, we'll regulate them as full custodians. Very, very important. It's really difficult to know what custody means in this space, but what we are saying here is if you are custodising crypto assets in our jurisdiction, you will need a custodial license to do so. And as I mentioned, we regulate them as exchanges. To the Europeans, to those who are still jurisdiction to us, it means regulating them similar to an NTF. So the processes around reconciliation, settlement processes, full market surveillance, transparency, objective trading, public disclosure protocols, operational systems and controls will all apply. And that's been a really interesting journey. Operating exchanges, we allow fiat to crypto, crypto to crypto is acceptable. Crypto asset custodians, as I mentioned, are regulated to the full extent. As a financial services jurisdiction, and if you're thinking about this, focus on what to exclude. Not just about what comes in, but also what you don't want to see come into your jurisdiction. So we've kept out really a lot of the non-financial services activity can't really come into ADGM. So the creation of new assets, the use of software, that one's a bit different because you'll see technology providers that are linked to this area will come in, but they won't get a license from us. They'll just get a commercial license. The transmission of crypto assets, keep that distinction, or at least I recommend it to do so, from money service provision to crypto asset activity, loyalty point schemes, etc. Or any other thing we just don't like. You can't get a license in our jurisdiction. As I said, we've expanded it to include market abuse provisions, and we relied heavily upon our legal teams to make sure the drafting was correct to capture now trading in securities derivatives, but also now crypto assets as well. We'll also get direct feeds, so we'll get surveillance systems. Each of the exchanges will require to be monitored their own markets. They will be monitoring for market abuse, financial crime purposes. They will also be giving us direct feeds straight into our market as well, straight into us as regulators. So we'll be able to see not just their own market, but the entire wider market, combining with our crypto futures markets as well. So we actually think we'll have a great optical view over the full activity that's trading in our jurisdiction. The final one is the fees. We've actually made the fees really high, and intentionally so. So your startups will look at it and say, we don't want to pay that, and we're fine with that. It's got to be about the entities that can not just meet the fee, but actually build up the technology, manage appropriate governance, etc. We've imposed a small trading levy on volume. So most exchanges will say everyone else's volume is not real, it's fake. There's lots of wash trading, there's automated trading, there's pinging the order book every 30 seconds. If they want to do that, they'll actually have to pay to us a small fee of starting at 0.0015 cents. So at $10 million of trading a day, they'll pay to us a fee of $150. Doesn't sound a lot, but you can imagine some of the exchanges who will probably have a lot to hide have spent a long time arguing why this is unfair, and we kept to this position. Many of the genuine exchanges like it because they see this as one of the ways to make their operations distinct from many of their other competitors, and we're happy to support that. On a final bit in terms of operating and prudential requirements, we've looked at them as exchanges. So 12 months operating expenses, can they do an orderly wind down of a market over a period of 12 months, for example? And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I think it gives us a great insight and view into what others may be able to do in this regard. A good roadmap for us all to follow. So let me bring up Jason's presentation, and we'll go right into what the CFTC is up to. You're set.
All right, so I'm Jason Mahoney. I'm Special Counsel with the Office of International Affairs, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about our approach to crypto assets. So first of all, as our standard disclaimer, I think you've heard it probably a number of times, but I just want to emphasize that any opinions or views that I state are my own and may or may not represent the official views. So I'd like to start with this quote. This is from Chairman Giancarlo. About a year ago, he said, "The world is changing."